Hi, welcome to Laptop Radio. Today's topic is crypto year in review, and we have Tony San with us. Hello, Tony.
Hi, Michelle. How's it going?
Good. Good. I'm really excited about talking about cryptocurrency and blockchain. There has been a lot of things happening this year.
Oh yeah, it's been a lot. It's been huge. Most of the world is thinking about the pandemic, and that's a big part of it, right? It
Mhm.
started off the year. We started off the year pretty tame, and then we had the pandemic, of course, that dropped the entire stock market. And it took
Mhm.
crypto with it. So that showed that there's a lot of people who are invested in the same spaces now. The stock market and the crypto market started becoming a little bit linked.
Mhm.
The crypto market recovered pretty quickly because other people got into it because they viewed it as being divergent from the stock market, right? So it's different from the rest of the overall equities market and things like that.
Mhm.
So towards April, May timeframe, people were thinking about this event that was coming up called the halvening, right?
Mhm.
So there was this guy, Plan B. He did a stock to flow model of previous halvenings.
Mhm.
And his model was pretty good. He got an R squared of greater than 95%, and his co-integration looks excellent, right?
Mhm.
So that showed that he may have something, right? And so the halvening is the event that causes the amount that miners receive as a block reward for mining Bitcoin to have. So now it becomes 6.25 Bitcoin per block. So the block reward have, and traditionally in previous halvening events or after previous halvening events, the price of Bitcoin went up dramatically. So if we look back, the last time was about 4 years ago, and we saw the price of Bitcoin go from about 1,000 all the way up to 20,000, right?
Mhm.
Previous to that, the price of Bitcoin went from somewhere around $15, $20 up to about $1,200. So there was a huge dramatic price increase. And right now we're up somewhere around, or at that time of the pre-halvening event, we were up around $8,000, $9,000 or so,
Mhm.
or 7,000. It was just under 10. And so people started buying in. And so that got other various different peoples to be interested in Bitcoin as well too, right? Institutions started getting interested.
Mhm.
One of the biggest players that we heard from was Michael Saylor. He
Mhm.
founded a company called MicroStrategies, and MicroStrategies had something like $500 million of cash reserves in the bank. And Michael Saylor just looked at it and he said, I've got inflation. The pandemic has been happening. So they're printing money a lot. So he expects the amount of dollar devaluation to increase, right?
Mhm.
He just can't find a good place to put his money, right? I mean, he wants to put it in the bond market, but bonds are not yielding anything. So it's not a great time to be in bonds. The stock market just had a huge plummet due to the pandemic. So he was looking for something stable and he came across Bitcoin and he started investigating it. Then he came to the conclusion that it makes sense for him to put his entire $425 million of cash reserves in his company into Bitcoin. So he
Mhm.
went to the board, he explained it to them over the course of a few months or so, right?
Yep.
They got on board and he started buying like crazy to the point that he announced at some point that he had bought $425 million worth of Bitcoin, right?
Oh,
In two
wow.
tranches. Yeah. And this was around when Bitcoin was under around 10,000 or so.
Yeah.
So I think his buying actually brought it up to 10,000 or so. So he was buying a lot.
Wow.
Yeah, he started announcing it to the world too, right? Like, hey, I bought Bitcoin. And you saw the price of the stock. It immediately increased dramatically, right? It almost doubled basically, right?
Yep.
And the price of the stock went up overnight. So other companies and other CEOs started thinking, hey, is this guy nuts or is this guy got something, right? So
Yep.
other companies started getting involved. And we can see where all this buying takes place because there's a big fund called Grayscale.
Yep.
And Grayscale is where Wall Street and people who have 401k plans and all that, they will invest via Grayscale because they can't just buy crypto outright, right? People need to have custodial ownership. They need to have insurance. If someone comes and steals the crypto, they need to be insured by a third party, that kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
So they don't want to be susceptible to hacks and anything like that. So Grayscale is in there and they buy the crypto, they have insurance, they're custodial, all that, right? And so institutions started buying into Grayscale. And Grayscale started publishing every quarter who's buying it. And the majority of their buying for the last year or so has been institutional buyers.
Mhm.
And they've been just buying all the dips. And that's been actually supporting the price of Bitcoin. So it started rising up above 10,000 and started moving up. And shortly after Grayscale announced all this stuff and all that, they actually announced a fund for more
Yep.
than just Bitcoin, right? Previously, it was just Bitcoin. So then they said, well, we've got a digital large cap fund, we've got a Litecoin fund, an Ethereum fund, a Bitcoin Cash fund. You can get involved in all these things, right?
Yeah. Tony, let's provide a few disclaimer.
Yeah, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. These are my opinions, and crypto assets are hyper volatile. So do not invest in anything based upon anything that I say. I'm just telling you my view of the world and what I think.
So I'm really
Right.
excited
Yeah.
that Tony is here with us, and Tony has been on the show before even cryptocurrency become a trend. Whatever that we're saying here now, we're just giving a year in review, and this is not legal, financial, or investing advice at all. And let's talk about Tony. Tony, what do you do?
Me, I'm an engineer. I view myself as a crypto evangelist, and I've been in the Bitcoin space since about 2013 or so. What happened was that I'm an engineer. I do hardware, software, all that. A friend of mine gave me a call one day, a long time ago, and he said, "Hey, can you make me a Bitcoin miner?" And I said, "What?" He said, "Hey, can you make me an actual Bitcoin miner?" And I said, "Well, didn't Bitcoin go up and down? It went to $5 and then sank to like zero or something, didn't it?" And he said, no, man, it's around $35. And you can't find Bitcoin miners. You can't find GPUs. There's no way to get Bitcoins right now. So I said, whoa. So that got me interested, right? So by the time I got around to talking to my friend and all that, he called me up when the price was 35. In the space of a month or two, it got to 75. This thing was moving along fast. So, I was planning to make a Bitcoin miner and all that, got together with some other friends. And we thought, hey, why make one? Why not just make like a whole bunch and then start selling it and all that, right?
Yeah,
But the
yeah.
price was moving so fast, it was incredible.
Yeah, and we did the virtual currency conference together for MIT Stanford Venture Labs at that time. In 2013, it
Mhm.
was really fun.
Yeah, we got the Winklevoss twins, which were pretty amazing. They held 2% of all the Bitcoin at the time. We got Fred Ersham and Chris Larson, both founders of Coinbase. So they showed up and, they talked about it. It was really good. We had Kashmir Hill from Forbes. She spent a whole month living on Bitcoin or something like that. So it was pretty cool.
It was an awesome conference. I really enjoyed it. And so let's
Yeah.
continue 2020 year in review. Really, really excited about this. Now that Bitcoin is over 20, even more excited. Really didn't expect that for people who actually built the industry. It comes not without challenges.
Oh, yeah. That's very true. So
Right.
recently we had an announcement from the SEC, right, that they said that Ripple and certain members of Ripple they had floated a security called XRP, right, which we think of as a coin. And that started a big hullabaloo just in the last week or so, right?
Mhm.
Some exchanges, including Bitstamp, have said, look, we don't really want to be involved in this type of security, SEC, interchange, all that. So we're just going to delist Ripple until the whole thing blows over. So the price of Ripple went down, it went up, it went down. There's a lot of speculation going on right now.
I have mixed feelings about Ripple, so I'm not going to comment on that. One thing I'm really excited about is PayPal.
PayPal thing was announced a little bit. Yeah, that was huge. I think that came after Michael Saylor. PayPal announced that they're going to allow people to buy crypto on their platform, which was a phenomenal announcement, right? Now you can't take the crypto off PayPal, but just the fact that you can buy crypto on PayPal, right? You can get exposure to Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. It's huge.
Yeah, I was super excited about that, mainly because I used to work at PayPal and I was just waiting for them to actually do something. That was amazing. I'm really glad that they're looking into cryptocurrency finally. And
Yeah, payments are a complicated space, and as
yeah,
you
yeah,
know more than most people I know about it.
yeah, I actually understand why you can't take the coin off of PayPal, but that's just really from my experience as someone who's worked there for like 6 years before. I was just really excited that they're going to the space. I think it will help with adoption, especially if they open up
Oh yeah.
currency for merchants.
Yeah, I think it's a great democratization effort too, right? So many people have access to PayPal. Now they have access to crypto.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but also at the same time, Square was also allowing people to buy only Bitcoin though. So they didn't allow you to buy other crypto, I think. I think it was mostly Bitcoin.
Yeah.
But PayPal allows you to get more, right? You can get Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum. You can get exposure to DeFi and all the other stuff that's happening in crypto.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I think it really depends on the company's risk level and the way they work with the government as well.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the US Treasury.
Yeah, so that combines with the PayPal thing in a way, right? Because PayPal won't let you take crypto off their platform. And that kind of combines with the US Treasury saying, well, we want a whole bunch of paperwork if you're going to take crypto off of whatever platform you have and put it into your own, what they call self-custodial wallets, right? Everyone else called them wallets before, but basically you're your own custody. The implications are quite interesting, right? I mean, Yeah, especially for DeFi, because DeFi is kind of it's a new thing, right? We have a smart contract. I really don't know how that's going to affect DeFi because a smart contract is a computer program. They don't really think about laws and regulations. So somehow those two have to like merge in some way, right?
Yeah, and DeFi doesn't have KYC capability because it's decentralized finance.
Exactly.
So there's just one thing that is a concern. I mean, I understand. I think regulators need to be educated on about cryptocurrency to begin with,
Hmm.
and I think it really depends on their flexibility to actually look at the laws that they have. Because when the laws were written, I don't think that it would include or intend to cover cryptocurrency, and cryptocurrency is so different from the conventional system.
It's such a big space.
Yeah, and then also the exchanges. You become essentially an exchange, maybe, if you allow
Yeah.
people to take Bitcoin or other coins off of your wallet or exchange it to something else. So it's been really, really interesting to actually see
Mhm.
how everything kind of comes into fiction. It's been really interesting because, we don't foresee this kind of technology, but it's happening. And
Mhm.
so do we look at the new old laws or do we make new ones to make sure that they're regulated correctly in a way that doesn't stifle innovation, but at the same time protect the consumer?
Yeah, I think that the SEC is becoming more aware of crypto because they just hired someone who's very crypto aware, I believe.
Yeah.
I forget their name, but yeah, but they're very, but they're, they're starting to get into that whole idea. And the thing is that if crypto does not survive here in the United States well and thrive, it'll thrive somewhere else. So I don't think our lawmakers want to stifle innovation within the country, right? They want to allow the economy to grow and everything like that too. So,
Yeah.
so
I
that's a
think I
big
think
deal.
entrepreneurs will move out of the US if
Hmm.
they continue to not only look at the laws and regulations to see how they could protect consumers and to protect consumers in a new way, right? Because I think
Hmm.
there's fraud all the time everywhere. But how do you
Hmm.
regulate that? And how do we allow innovation, like the true technology, and and at the
Hmm.
same time punish the scammer? How do we do
Oh,
that in a more
yeah.
balanced way?
Yeah, that's true. There is a lot of consumer protection that is good that's in the United States. So yeah, you have to balance all that. Speaking of scammers and all that, we recently had the Ledger database hack, right? That happened just before Christmas or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
just
Kind of
last
weird.
week. There's a bunch of hacks.
The Ledger database got hacked. So the ledgers themselves, the Ledger wallets were not hacked, but the
Mhm.
names and addresses of the people who have Ledger wallets were exposed to the public and their emails and all that. So people started scamming them. And Andreas Antonopoulos actually did an emergency live stream to tell people, hey, look, your wallet's still safe, but beware of scammers, right? Well, the
Mhm.
scammers went immediately to his live stream and they attacked his live stream and they started putting these links saying, hey, we are Ledger, click this link. So Andreas actually said, look, our live stream has been hacked. Do not click on any links you see in the live stream.
That's hilarious.
But but he went on. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's so hard to determine hackers now. Like everything is being hacked, right? So are
Yeah.
people actually focusing on privacy? You have Microsoft and Cisco
Mhm.
and other big companies getting hacked. It's been interesting. How do we protect us?
Yeah, so there's a new world of protection. I mean, that's exactly why big companies want to have custodial insurance protection for their crypto. The whole cybersecurity field is just blossoming and blooming right now. Yeah, and that brings us to around Christmas time frame, right? And interestingly enough, just in Christmas, we had all the commodities market close just before Christmas. It was all the options and futures were expiring
Mhm.
on Christmas Day, actually, and the markets were closed on Christmas Day. So just after Christmas and after the futures expired, right? It was around 24,000 a Bitcoin at that time. It went up a lot, right?
Mhm.
From like under 8 to 24. That's still a big, huge run. But just over the last weekend until Sunday here, it got as high as 28,000 before dropping down to 27. It was going on a tear. And the belief is that by Monday, that now a lot of margin calls will take place. So we
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen on Monday, right? A lot of people will be underwater there. If those people were shorting Bitcoin, they now have to buy back at $28,000.
Oh wow.
Yeah, yeah. We're at new all-time highs now. I look at the various predictors for price, right? So like the big movers like Citibank have been predicting that in 2021, they expect over $300,000 Bitcoin. JP Morgan made a very complex statement and essentially they're predict crypto could get as high as 650,000 per Bitcoin.
Mhm.
a hugely insane amount of money, right? We don't know if it'll ever get there. A lot of people prior to these predictions were looking at this stock to flow cross asset model that was promoted by a guy called Plan B. He compared what he calls the stock, which is the total amount of crypto there is in the world, right, to the flow, which is the amount of new crypto being introduced. He compared it to the gold markets and the other precious metal markets, right? So he said the stock to flow and that multiple actually determines what the price will be in the future. And he said crypto was the only predictable thing because you can never predict when you find out a new gold mine, right? But with crypto, it's actually programmed into the computer algorithm, how much the new flow will be. He put it in, he crunched the numbers, and he came up with $280,000 for the price of Bitcoin at the end of this bull run, maybe start of 2022. Around there. The numbers are huge, which is why people are getting into it. But we're at new all-time highs, which basically means everyone who's ever bought any crypto now has made money, right? So everyone's feeling good right now.
Yeah, if they sell.
Well, if they don't sell, they're feeling good. If they sell, they're probably like, oh, wow, should I sell? I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like there's
Yeah.
a scarcity of supply too. So it's been interesting to see because people say that there's a crypto winter because Bitcoin has been really low in the last 2 or 3 years. It was good because I think it weed out a lot of scammers and fake people and entrepreneurs that are really greedy. So I'm kind of glad
Yeah.
that it went back up again. Bitcoin, let's talk about Litecoin.
Yeah, so Litecoin is kind of interesting. It's part of the altcoin space. And Litecoin was created to be a clone of Bitcoin, but faster and with lower fees. So that was the intention behind Litecoin. It's got 2.5-minute block times as opposed to 10-minute block times for Bitcoin. So there's 4 times more Litecoin out there in the world than there is Bitcoin. And you get confirmations 4 times as fast. So it's faster and smaller. But the interesting thing is that ever since Grayscale put it on their funds that you could buy now, it's gotten a lot of interest. So this guy, Willy Woo, he's on Twitter and he does this thing called Woonomics. It's pretty cool. He called it an oscillator. And so an oscillator is an altcoin that goes up and down. But when Bitcoin pumps or when Bitcoin goes up a lot, the oscillator rides on that and actually goes up very, very high too. So Litecoin is considered to be an oscillator, but it's also kind of like immune from all the other things. It's different than other crypto in that it's not like Ethereum, it's not like Ripple, so it can't be considered a security. The code is almost identical to Bitcoin. The main difference is that it's faster and has better block times. But the other thing is that it's got a hashing algorithm called Scrypt. But they're recently adding this new capability into it called Mimblewimble. So that's gotten a lot of speculation as to what Mimblewimble will do. Because it allows you to have privacy. Right now, if I give you a Bitcoin, like from my wallet, not only do you receive the Bitcoin, but you also see how much I have in my Bitcoin wallet, right? So you would know how much money I have. With Mimblewimble, I could give you a Litecoin. You'd still receive the Litecoin, but you wouldn't know how much Litecoin I have in my wallet, which is kind of cool. Yeah. So people are saying this might have an effect on Litecoin's price and all that. So we saw this in Grayscale, which was really interesting. They have an LTCN product, which is a Litecoin product. Now, they didn't have a lot of Litecoin. At the time it was introduced for $35 per share, and each share had about $5 worth of Litecoin. So you only had a small amount, like 1/7 of a share was Litecoin, right? But that price, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. But that price went from $35 all the way up to $500. And now it's come back down to some $200-300 or something like that. There's potentially a lot of interest in Litecoin as either a secondary to Bitcoin kind of a store of value, a secondary way to exchange or something. But a lot of people are interested in it. And I can't really explain why. It's kind of interesting. Yeah.
How about Ethereum 2.0 or 2.0?
So that just took place, and that's a big deal, right? So they've announced a new 2.0. They have a new EIP 1559 that's coming up where they're actually going to burn fees. Burning the fees is really an interesting concept because previously they didn't know how much Ethereum there's going to be out there in the world, right? There's no hard cap on Ethereum, whereas Bitcoin did have a hard cap. But now with this burning of fees, there's some speculation I'm hearing that Ethereum, it gets a lot of traction. It gets a lot of people wanting to use it for DeFi and all that. Some people are saying Ethereum might even flip Bitcoin. There are a lot of people who are very pro this EIP 1559, which burns the fees. It destroys Ether. It's kind of interesting. A lot of people are interested in Ethereum specifically to get to the DeFi market, right? They're using, these tokens like SushiSwap, Uniswap, and all that, and those things went up dramatically.
So there is almost 13 billion locked into DeFi.
Yeah.
DeFi stands for decentralized finance, by the way. As
It's
opposed
huge,
to
right?
DeFi, which is centralized finance.
Yeah. Another interesting thing is this whole idea of non-fungible tokens has taken off with Ethereum too, right? It's like an art market, right?
Yeah, I applied to 4 of them since I was making art, and I have not heard from any of them, which is interesting.
Occasionally, I watch this YouTube channel called Ivan on Tech, and he uses these non-fungible tokens like crazy. Every now and then, he sells a piece of of art and
Yeah,
all that. He's got the non-fungible token with it, so
that's awesome.
so
That's
it's
awesome. Yeah, I love
yeah,
NFTs, and NFTs could be anything. It doesn't have to be with art.
yeah,
They could
yeah.
be tied to anything. Let's talk about Bitcoin Cash.
Yeah, Bitcoin Cash is really interesting because what has happened is rather intriguing. Roger Ver is a big proponent of Bitcoin Cash, and he introduced his own exchange to allow Bitcoin Cash to be exchanged with other cryptocurrencies all over the place. So Bitcoin Cash is getting some interest there. The other thing is that Bitcoin Cash has not taken off like the rest of the other altcoins. But when it did take off last time, it got pretty high. It got to $2,000 Bitcoin Cash.
Awesome, Tony. What is one thing that you're looking forward to in 2021?
In my case, I've purchased crypto in the past. One thing I'm looking forward to is I have enough crypto now that I don't need to buy anymore. So I'm just going to sit back and watch the ride because it's going to go up dramatically, I think.
Yeah.
So 2021 is going to be a really interesting year. But interestingly enough, so the whole thing is a lot of people will come to me and ask about, hey, should I buy Bitcoin? Should I buy Litecoin and all that? And I said, well, you really should have bought it about a year or two ago. But the best time to buy is now, as long as you hold it for 4 years. That's typically what I tell people.
Yeah, but I think
Yeah,
people react really differently. When the price is
yeah,
low, they
yeah.
hate Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and think it's a scam. But when the price comes back, they're like, oh my gosh, yeah, you're supposed to buy low and sell and have some kind of conviction and do your own research regarding this technology. And I can say technology
Exactly.
because the pandemic, if anything, showed us that there has been rapid digitalization. And I
Oh,
think
yeah.
digital tokens, digital money, digital value is going to be the future. And the future is now because of all the things that are happening to us.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I look forward to 2021. I think it's going to be a very exciting year. It's going to be a relatively happy pro year for crypto. By the end of 2021, I'll probably have sold most of my stuff, but by 2022, I think there might be a drop. So there will be euphoria, and I look forward to the euphoria, but after the euphoria, there's usually a hangover that takes place.
Happy New Year, Tony.
Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.